are joined today by
J.R. Romano.
Well, hello. J.R. Romano here with the Connecticut Republican Party. It's been an interesting week. Where do I start? Obviously, many people have watched or saw YouTube clips, or the news has covered the whole fiasco in Washington, D.C. Here's what we learned watching this and just this whole thing play out. And it was very sad for the country because we learned nothing. Once again, it was proven that the Democrats, and I've said this before, as they're going after this whole Russia and what I've realized is the reason they're so focused on this whole collusion I'm sure all of you have seen the whole meme or whatever when it talks about like Democrats will stand up there and they'll say something like no one's above the law, and then you're like, unless they decide to break into the country. And then in that case, we can't arrest them or, according to them, and we're allowed to block ICE agents and throw water at cops and do all these other things. So that's okay. That's okay to do. But no one's above the law, according to the Democratic Party. It's just wrought with hypocrisy. But anyway, I think the reason the Democrats want to stay so focused on this, and it's locally, it's at the state level, it's at the federal level, why they can't talk about anything else, because they really have nothing to be proud of. This party, particularly here in the state of Connecticut, has a record of abysmal economy. Yet again, we're losing jobs. It's terrible. And it's not getting any better. I mean, there's all these bad bills that were passed. There's a restaurant bill. You have a raise in the minimum wage. I mean, these things are going to be devastating to mom and pop businesses. It's going to mean job loss, because and this is the thing. The places that have passed this $15 minimum wage, like Seattle and all, we know the science now. It doesn't work. And yet here we are in Connecticut saying, yay, $15 an hour, and we should celebrate. Let's see who's celebrating 5 years from now when our economy is still stagnant, if not smaller. Our real estate prices continue to stay stagnant and are not moving. And our property taxes go up because the state of Connecticut, the Democrats in Hartford don't want to take ownership of their failure, so they just kick all of the services and everything that demand the cities do. They don't give them any funding for it, and then the cities locally have to raise taxes in order to meet those mandates. This is what they're doing. It is insane, and that is one of the reasons why they want to focus all their attention on talking about emotional things, because they have no concrete proof that a single policy that they believe in actually makes people's lives better. So what's interesting about this is that last week I had made a comment in specifically in regards to how leftists, people on the left who are extremists, it's more mainstream than anyone really wants to admit. I mean, we have elected officials here in the state of Connecticut that have called for to abolish ICE. They've come after police, and the Democrats say nothing. But how it somehow is okay. The elected Democrats never really condemn Antifa. They there's this kind of wink, nod. If someone's wearing a Make America Great Again hat, that it's okay if they get assaulted. Like, they really shouldn't wear that hat. No, you should be looking at the people in your party and telling them to cut it out. How about standing up for that? How about standing up for free speech? How about standing up for the flag? As simple as that, Democrats have a problem with. You literally have an example in this country right now where a college is saying the term American is offensive. That is a Democrat thing. That is not a Republican thing. That is the Democratic Party. So when they do a video about like, oh, we don't know what it means, this is what it means when I say that liberals feel justified in their violence. I can point to, I don't know, Republicans being chased out of restaurants, being harassed. I can point to elected officials calling on their followers to harass people of the opposing party, people who support the president. That's what that means. It is this holier than thou attitude, which really kind of makes me laugh, because they don't want to own the fact that there's this wink, nod about how they feel about someone in a Make America Great Again hat. You have examples of high school students being harassed because they don't fall in line with the Democrat ideology. It is so disturbing at how blind this party, the Democratic Party, is when it comes to their own misgivings. I will certainly call out a congressman that calls for direct attack and violence. But the irony is when you have a situation, even here in the state of Connecticut, what I love is when Congresswoman Jahana Hayes was asked about Congresswoman Omar's anti-Semitic comments. She says, well, I don't share the same opinions as her. Oh, but it's okay. It doesn't make any sense. The hypocrisy is insane. So the Democrats made a little video, which no one watched, or it was kind of funny, but they really don't understand how dangerous what they're doing is. They don't stand for the flag. And they make videos about standing up. They don't stand for the principles that made this a great country. Freedom of speech, those core tenets, those documents that we love, that made this country great. The free market, which allows people to lift themselves up out of poverty. The government doesn't do that. We as people do that. The government does not lift people out of poverty. They create it. And this is what is the fundamental problem with the modern Democratic Party. They believe government's the answer. They believe they have all the solutions and they are morally right on every issue. It's why everyone that disagrees with them is a racist or a sexist or a bigot, because they can't actually articulate an argument to defend their stances, and so they just revert to some emotional argument. And that's exactly what's happening here in Connecticut. And a prime example of this is the Democrats talk about standing up. There's a port authority out in Eastern Connecticut that has been, disturbingly corrupt. No one, and I have to give them the London Day credit. They called for it's actually a sitting first select woman. I can't recall her name, but she's a Democrat. Called for her to resign. Now, here's the shady part about this. My understanding is that the woman that recently resigned, she'd only taken over recently. The person who was in charge when most of this corruption happening, oh, wow, Scott Bates, he's now the Deputy Secretary of State. Not a single Democrat said a word. This Port Authority has abused, and I mean abused, the taxpayer. Oh, no, but they're going to be real quiet about that. There's no standing up for that one. I'm sure of it. If it was a Republican, they'd be marching in the streets. But no. Oh, no, Scott Bates, Deputy Secretary of State, we're not going to look into this. We're not going to talk about this. Rightfully, the first select woman who was basically, I think she paid a couple $1,000s to have her daughter do some artwork that's in the hallways of the Port Authority. She resigned from the Port Authority leadership position, but she's still a first select woman. The Democrats renominated her. I mean, it's insane. The other thing that is, so for those that don't know, Senator Alex Bergstein, she's from Greenwich. There's been a lot of talk and controversy surrounding her tenure as a senator, but nothing is more, what's the word I'm looking for? Nothing is more out of touch than a senator that demands courage to pass tolls when she can afford them. Right? It's not courageous to sit here and say, oh, I want another tax when your divorce records indicate that your monthly charges on the two Amexes that you have total more than $40,000 for a month. That's her monthly charge on her Amex. And it's kind of a bad divorce. I'm not going personal, but the records are public. She spends $40,000 on her Amex, and you are expecting single moms in Meriden, Connecticut to chip in, literally to charge them to drive to work, and you somehow think that you're courageous because you're demanding tolls? Talk about out of touch. Talk about not understanding the suffering and plight of the people of the state of Connecticut. Because I got news for you. If you're a single mom in Meriden and you're making $45,000, $50,000 a year, which doesn't qualify you for any benefits, what'll end up happening is that if you're, say, like I said, a dental hygienist, a nurse, someone making a minimum wage, blue collar job, the state of Connecticut, i.e. the senator from Greenwich, a rich liberal, says that you need to have courage because we need tolls. And the reason we need tolls, and this is part of the story that never gets told, is that Democrats have diverted more than $2 billion out of the Special Transportation Fund to meet operating expenses since 2012. And so now there's no money. But the problem is to look at that single mom and to ask her or any other person who's making a minimum middle class existence here in the state of Connecticut to chip in maybe $1,000 up to $1,500 a year for tolls while this woman vacations in Italy. That's not courage. It's disturbing that you think that somehow voting for tolls would give you courage to do the right thing. How about doing the right thing for the people that, I don't know, clean your house? You know, my favorite moment, and I love this. See if I can just take a quick second and play the clip when Mark Davis asked Ned Lamont if he ever cleaned a bathroom. Go ahead. This is a great moment.
Anytime you're going against a multimillionaire who lives in a house with 8 bathrooms.
Politics turns to potty talk.
Have you ever cleaned one of those bathrooms? Have you ever cleaned one of those bathrooms?
That says it right there. Both Alex and Ned are from Greenwich. Alex literally wrote an op-ed about being courageous in demanding more money from middle-class taxpayers. I don't even know how that computes for the Democratic Party. She should be ashamed of herself, asking hardworking people to give a little bit more when she's charging $40,000 a month on her Amex. Yeah, that makes sense. Real courageous, Senator. Real courageous. Anyway, that's it for today. I really appreciate you tuning in. Again, subscribe. J.R. Romano with the Connecticut Republican Party. Thanks for listening.